battles fought and lives lost. It once pained me to know that I am the cause of such despair. But now, their cries give me strength.
Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. Good to be here. Ben Mankiewicz, Christy Lemire, Alonso Duralde. What's going on, guys? Stuff.
We almost got the band back together, but Matt is stuck on the 405.
As is wont to happen in Los Angeles.
Indeed.
One a big movie and one littler movie, but is creating quite a bit of conversation. So let's start with the big movie, Snow White and the John Huntsman.
It's a classic Hollywood story. Two women fight it out to see who's prettier. And the younger, hotter one tends to have an edge over the soul-sucking hag who killed her husband. Take a look.
Beauty is my power. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is fairest of them all?
You are the fairest, but there is another destined to surpass you. Consume her heart and you shall live forever.
Find me someone who doesn't fear the dark forest to hunt her down.
Why is she of such value?
That is none of your concern.
If I refuse?
Hair black as night. Bring me your heart, my dear Snow White.
She literally is a soul-sucking hag.
Yeah.
It's not even like a metaphor.
Yeah, no.
I don't know the story of Snow White. That is what I learned in the movie. I swear to God, and I debated whether to be honest about this, but I first thought, it changed in about 20 seconds, but first I thought, ugh, dwarfs.
Right, and they sing and they whistle while they work.
And then I'm like, oh wait, no, you have to have dwarfs.
Yeah, kind of,
Dwarfs are a big part of this, I remember that, but I don't know what happens to her. I don't know how much of this is taken from the fairy tale. I don't know fairy tales. I have a huge fairy tale hole in my
Just go to Wikipedia. It's all there. No,
but as we're watching the movie, what I thought was, I'm going to go to Wikipedia because I don't know how much of this.
Were you raised by wolves?
I don't know the one about the wolves either.
Well, that's a whole other thing.
Did you see the Disney Snow White, where the little woodland creatures come and sing to her and stuff?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Okay, in broad strokes, yes, this is following the Snow White story, although there's two dudes in this one, usually there's just one.
Right.
But obviously this is sort of following the Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland model of let's take a fairly passive storybook heroine and put a sword in her hand and turn her into a warrior woman and which on paper it seems like a good idea, but this movie's kind of bananas in a lot of ways. Charlize Theron is giving this performance. It's like one part one part Tilda Swinton to about 30 parts Faye Dunaway. Big, crazy. Oh, come on.
The ratio is not like that.
That is a drag queen performance.
No, there are flashes of totally over the top screeching, like, give me her heart, find her.
You're going to be seeing a lot of that evil queen on Santa Monica Boulevard this Halloween. I'm telling you.
No,
yes.
you know what? I agree. When Charlize Theron uses her height and uses her voice and just the intimidating factor of her astonishing beauty, it's very powerful. When she gets screechy, which is only a few times, not that many.
It's what I left the theater humming. Okay.
But that part is a little obnoxious.
They make an impression. Those
at the same time,
moments.
Kristen Stewart is like her usual stoic. It's all the same Bella tics, right? It's all the same of looking to the side and kind of sighing, and she's kind of stoic.
Yeah,
and skittish.
she goes on an arc from sullen teen to boarding school St. Joan at the end. She gives this big with me to Orleans speech that is so what? Huh?
It's very hard to buy her as warrior princess.
Yeah,
she's too slight. The voice is too tiny. There's no conviction behind it.
Yeah.
And she's not fairer than the queen.
Right. Okay. So
I wasn't going to say it, but okay.
But that's because the queen is unfairly, ridiculously beautiful.
And that's what I said.
And
No
the
one's fair
movie
than
talks
Charlize Theron.
about it
Right.
a lot. I mean, they do sort of set this whole thing up, and so yeah, it's.
But in casting, like you could have found somebody. I was racking my brain, like who is hot, who is beautiful, and maybe 10 years younger, and could still be a badass warrior princess.
Or like is beautiful in a really different way, like you know, somebody like Kimberly Elise, say, like this, you know, really gorgeous kind of, you know, African American woman who would be a real contrast
Snow White.
Well, okay, yeah, I know, fairest, blah, blah, blah.
It's like the Wiz version.
I'm just saying, you know, somebody who's as un-Charlize Theron, but still super gorgeous in her own way.
Yeah, Kristen Stewart is not it.
Yeah, also, yeah, because it's not even the kind of thing like for the people who find her very attractive, and I do find her.
Do you?
I find her extremely attractive.
Okay.
But she's not attractive in a way that objectively people like a mirror would say is hotter than
Charlize Theron is like a beauty mutant.
Right.
You know?
Like you got it. Like she's Kristen Stewart is a biker chick, and she's a beautiful biker chick, but she's a biker chick.
Now getting back to the dwarves.
This part was cool.
Well, they were. Here's the thing: Mirror Mirror found 7 really funny and engaging little people to do it. This movie gets like, you know, Nick Frost and Toby Jones and Bob Hoskins and Ian McShane and Eddie Marzan, like all these really sort of recognizable British character actors. And I couldn't stop thinking about, wow, how are they turning these guys into dwarves?
I couldn't stop thinking that either, but I thought it was cool.
It was
cool and they're good, but you know, the effects are great, but it kept taking me out of it because all I could think about is how they. I was looking for the strings. I was looking for the grafted on faces. Like I don't know how they did it, but it was distracting because like even if they had cast 7 non-little person actors who weren't famous. And then later I found out, oh, those aren't really dwarves. Oh, wow, really? Well, you know, that would be amazing.
Right.
But to cast these sort of
so
recognizable...
you know instinctively that they've done something here, and then you can't, because it's so, you can't. But I mean, isn't that sort of like, to a degree, isn't that some Benjamin Button in that too? I mean, could you remove yourself from it in that?
Benjamin Button I had other problems with. But yeah, I couldn't stop thinking about the effect, and so I wasn't even paying attention to the characters or what was going on.
But that's because you already, by that time, weren't into the movie.
Well, that is a problem too,
Well,
yes,
here
admittedly.
is why I'm okay with the dwarves for a couple of reasons. A, they're all very, very funny.
No,
they're all
absolutely,
great actors.
they're
but
great.
B, the fact that you have that kind of really tricky effect makes sense with the rest of the film. The movie is gorgeous. It is astonishingly
that's why
beautiful.
you like it. I knew it as soon as I saw what your number is, because it was beautiful.
It is. It's gorgeous.
No,
the art direction
is dark
is fun.
and strange and different.
However, whoever came up with the big stag with all the antlers at the end, Studio Ghibli should sue. That is such a ripoff of Princess Mononoke, like past homage right into plagiarism.
Right.
It's crazy.
There's a lot of borrowing going on here, but you know what? I was so wowed by the look of it over and over again that I was okay with the performances, which are, you know, Kristen Stewart sucks. They're horrible. But it's beautiful,
there's
it's
two
thrilling, it's frightening. There's some truly, truly frightening stuff. The stuff in the dark forest is very inventive.
Yeah, the hallucinatory.
Very beautiful. Yeah. I liked it a lot better than you guys.
They throw in 2 male characters, but they don't ever really bother to figure out what role they play in Snow White's life.
But one of them's a red herring, right? It's supposed to have like a love triangle with Chris Hemsworth and I'm blanking on his name, Sam Claflin.
The William.
The prince, yes, the prince.
Yeah, and it's like
it's a love triangle.
But it's not though, because they don't really bother to sort of delineate anything.
And their relationship with each other is nothing. They don't even. There's no tension. There's no nothing.
And I admire the fact that here's a movie that's going to give us this like strong heroine, and she's not going to be defined by the men in her life. You know, great. But if those men are going to be there and on screen and occupying space, then give us some idea of what function they play in her life, what role, what she thinks about them, what they think about her. That's none of that's ever explored.
It's clear who Chris Hemsworth is to her.
I got to bring up one thing that is, and because I actually don't think this is nitpicking, and I thought about it a bunch, but it really does. It's a movie that consistently and in important parts broke its own rules. Okay. I mean, if we're to believe that Charlize Theron she needs to, at one point, I guess I'm not giving anything away because apparently everyone knows this, but she has to get her heart, right? That Snow White is pure
for
of heart.
eternal life, yes.
Right. Well, then it turns out at one point she can just appear there. She
Yeah.
can fly there. Why didn't she do that earlier?
Yeah, she does. She manifests herself late in the film, and it's like, okay, well, why
Oh, so
didn't you
she's
do
got
that
some-
an hour ago?
And then when she's fading in her beauty, and what she needs to do is suck the life out of some hot girls, like do that. And then it turns out we see the later scene, like a throwaway scene, that that happens. Well, what's the big deal? Keep doing that for another 400 years.
Here's what I assume with her finally showing up in the forest. She's like, fuck it, I'm taking the law into my own hands. You people are useless. I want to sit here comfortably in my castle,
And I guess
but no.
she had no power in the dark forest, so I presume she couldn't.
She can't access the dark forest once they get out, right?
Right. Once they get out there, she can do it anywhere.
But that makes sense.
But then
that's
do it-
why she can go then.
But why didn't go later? Go again. Fly away. Come back. Like just keep coming. You're incredibly powerful.
There are some big logical gaps in this movie, and also I think all the stuff with like the birds that help her. That works well in a Disney cartoon.
Right.
It's a little silly in real life when they point her to the sewer and then she comes out of the ocean and there's a horse just waiting for her.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's like,
well, here's a question I
people
had.
laughed at the screening.
No, here's a question I had. Okay, if she's been trapped in a tower for like the entirety of her adolescence,
Why is she in such good shape?
How did she know how to ride a horse?
Well, that's nitpicky.
Well, she probably.
That's nitpicky.
I assume.
And
as a
wields a
kid.
sword.
I thought
She's
about
not
it.
on
I thought about it.
horse.
She probably had ridden one as a kid. But yeah, the sword thing, and she's in really good shape for somebody who has not had like a pull-up bar in that
Maybe
room
she's
that I can
doing
tell.
push-ups in the cell by herself.
So look, I don't know apparently the Snow White story, but now I'm starting to get the Kristen Stewart fairy tale, which is that she always has a choice of two really hot guys who are pursuing her, but neither of them fuck her. That, near as I can tell, is the Kristen Stewart story.
And that's why teen girls love these movies.
All right, so numbers. You're the winner here.
I gave it a 7.
That's just. I knew when I was watching it, I'm like, this does look cool. Christy's gonna love that.
It's so. I wanted to go buy perfume afterward. It was so pretty.
I give it a 4 sheerly for dint of the art direction, but that's about it.
And two girls who I talked to who work at Current, and my girlfriend too, they saw one trailer of this, and they're totally
They're
jazzed
in.
about it.
Good.
They're totally
Yeah,
jazzed.
the girl I went to school with is like, I'm going to go see this with my girlfriend on Wednesday. I can't wait to go see it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think they'll be disappointed. I gave it. I pulled it up
Maybe
to
not.
a 4, so it's 15 overall, so a 5, and that's with Christie's janking it up.
Right.
But it's somewhere, our friend Matt Atchity, being stuck in traffic, cannot join us, but it's somewhere like in the mid-50s on the tomato meter at this point. It's like 57-ish.
So it's spoiled right now.
Rotten.
But
rotten,
it's a poisonous apple.
Is it spoiled or rotten? I can't remember.
What's that website called
What's
again?
the website called again?
Okay, bye.